Hi, and welcome to Email Marketing Fundamentals. My name is Vito, and I'm the founder of Growth Geyser, a small agency that specializes in email marketing, marketing automation, and lead generation. The aim of this course, as the name suggests, is to teach you the fundamental principles in email marketing. This 25-minute course is designed to address the most common email marketing mistakes so that you can avoid them, and it's designed to help you improve your emailing skills and effectiveness. Email marketing is a skill, just like writing, shooting a basketball, or even driving a car. With any skill, there are underlying basic principles that are foundational to succeeding. Email marketing is no different. A bit about me. I've been working within the email marketing industry for over 5 years. I'm an ActiveCampaign certified consultant and have helped nearly 100 clients improve their email marketing efforts. Building a good email list takes a lot of time, energy, and money. But a great list means nothing if your emailing strategy is ineffective. I'll be demonstrating email best practices on ActiveCampaign, my email software of choice. You can sign up below for a 14-day free trial now. The emailing principles I'm about to discuss are foundational in nature for all email marketing efforts. So whether you use ActiveCampaign or any other emailing software, the same principles apply. Now let me be clear about what this course is not. This is not a course on how to copyright or create email content, though we'll discuss content to a small degree. Nor is it a silver bullet that will transform your business overnight and make you instantly rich. But if you stick around for the next 25 minutes, expect to acquire valuable knowledge that will help you hone your skills, improve your effectiveness, and increase your ROI. So without further ado, let's dive in. Let me start with some emailing statistics that should lend insight into the state of email marketing today in the year 2021. 78% of marketers have seen an increase in email engagement over the last 12 months. 80% of business professionals believe that email marketing increases customer retention. 59% of respondents say marketing emails influence their purchase decisions. Marketers who use segmented campaigns note as much as a 760% increase in revenue. So it goes without saying that email marketing is still an extremely valuable and effective form of marketing. Let's now start with a very important topic: who we can email. One of the most crucial errors I encounter with new clients is their lack of understanding of who they can and cannot email. The following are some of the most common emailing platforms, just to name a few: ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber, and HubSpot. Each and every one of these platforms has their own terms of service, or TOS. In those terms of service, most state in no uncertain terms that you cannot use their mailing software to mail unsolicited emails to contacts who have not opted into your list. Let me repeat that because it's very important. With these services, you can only email people who have chosen to hear from you. What does that mean? You can't scrape the internet or purchase a list of thousands of emails and send emails to those contacts via these platforms. Now, the TOS amongst these providers varies. In addition to that, there are gray areas regarding who you can send to. For example, if somebody fills out a form on your website and wants to schedule a phone call with you regarding your services, can you send them an automated series of emails afterward? Technically no, but it's probably something you can get away with since they opted in to communicate with you. That said, you should be cautious about how often you would email such contacts. Any contact you scrape from the internet, purchase from a list, or acquire in another manner in which they did not grant consent, we're going to call a cold contact. And we're going to call anybody who opts into hearing from you a warm contact. We're only going to discuss mailing to warm contacts in this video. But so you know, there are legitimate methods of reaching out to cold contacts in B2B marketing. Trying to do so in B2C marketing, however, is risky at best and illegal at worst. Here are some of the emailing platforms through which you can conduct cold email campaigns: Reply.io, Mailshake.com, Woodpecker.co, and Snovio, to name a few. In order to learn more about the rules that govern emailing, you should read up on the Can-Spam Act. The Can-Spam Act is a federal law in the United States that dictates who you can and cannot email to. So now let's return our focus to warm contacts. As mentioned, warm contacts are contacts who choose to opt in to your mailing list. 3 basic ways to define your warm contacts are the following: subscribers, leads or prospects, and customers or clients. You can define these contacts in other ways, however these 3 should suffice for most businesses. In fact, if you operate in e-commerce and your customers never have to be in touch with a sales representative on your team, you can likely stick to just subscribers and customers. A subscriber is typically somebody who has opted into a piece of content or somebody who has added an item to his or her shopping cart but has never purchased. The key is that they've volunteered their information to your company but have never purchased. A customer or client is self-explanatory. They're somebody who has purchased a product or service from you. Lastly, a lead or prospect is somebody who has reached out and is in direct contact with your sales team. Typically, this kind of contact occurs in B2B, service, or industries with high-ticket items. A lead typically requires manual one-on-one communication by a sales member. Like a subscriber, a lead has not yet purchased anything from you. Building out your list is the process of acquiring any of the types of contacts we just mentioned. They can opt into your list in a multitude of ways: filling out a call form, filling out a form in order to acquire content, adding an item to a shopping cart in order to conduct a purchase, or signing up for a free trial to your service. There are other ways, but these are the primary ways. Since the first step of opting into your list generally requires a form of some sort, it's important to choose emailing software that provides robust forms that are easy to build. ActiveCampaign does a fine job of just that. For those of you who have an ActiveCampaign account, feel free to navigate over to the form builder where you can easily build your own form with the drag and drop editor. The basic form builder allows even a novice to build a nice form in little time. For those of you who have CSS skills, you can use the advanced editor to style the form exactly as you need, matching your brand's unique style guidelines. Here we see a very basic form. And here you can see a form I built with CSS in order to match my website's theme. Once you've built the form, you simply embed a snippet of code into your website and the form is operational. Streamlining your list building in this manner is extremely valuable. It saves time and allows you to set parameters depending on the form to segment incoming leads. How to drive traffic to your forms in order to build this list is not the focus of this video, so we won't go into depth on the subject. However, paid traffic via Facebook, Instagram, and Google advertising are some of the top methods. Search engine optimization and free social media traffic are also very common ways to build your list. Now that we've covered the basics about warm contacts and how you'll acquire those warm contacts, let's discuss segmenting your list. List segmentation is crucial to your success in email marketing. Every emailing software platform is a bit different. In ActiveCampaign, you can segment your contacts via three primary mechanisms: lists, tags, and custom fields. In ActiveCampaign, I prefer to use tags and custom fields to segment an audience. Let me explain why. A list in ActiveCampaign is a means for the contact to control whether or not he or she wants to hear from you. A contact has the ability to unsubscribe himself or herself from a list. And in order to deliver a good user experience to contacts, I believe it's best not to enroll them onto too many lists. After all, if you don't want to hear from a company, do you care how they've segmented you? Probably not. By using lists to segment, you reveal to your contact your internal segmentation. This bears no significance to the contact. So you can make it easy for contacts to manage their subscriptions by maintaining as few lists as possible. The fewer lists you maintain, the fewer lists your contacts need to opt out of. On the other hand, tags or custom fields are not something a contact can generally control once they've opted in. A tag is an internal label that you apply to a contact to convey a piece of information about the contact. For instance, you may have a tag called client that you apply to a contact after they've made their first purchase. A custom field can also be applied in the same exact manner as a tag. But a custom field can also be a field on a form that the client fills out. For instance, you may create a custom drop-down field called country that a contact is required to fill out when they opt in. With these tags and custom fields, you can now segment your audience in a multitude of ways. For instance, if you want to send out an email only to contacts with a client tag whose country is France, you can email the contacts who meet both of those two criteria. With custom fields and tags, you can define your audience as granularly as you want by mixing and matching the two. Conversely, if you use lists for segmentation, you run the risk of creating too many lists. List management can then become a headache both on your side and for the contact. I've worked with clients who have dozens of lists, and managing those lists and understanding the differences between them is truly difficult. Therefore, I recommend always starting with one master list. You can always expand to more lists later, but to keep things simple at the beginning, I'd recommend starting with just one. That said, there are some cases where having several lists makes sense. If you know you would never send an email to two different audiences, that's a good time to consider a second list. For instance, if you have both wholesale clients and retail clients, it's unlikely the messaging would be the same for both. In this instance, separate lists are a good idea. In addition to the type of contact discussed above, I also like to segment an audience based on their level of interactions with your website and emails. In ActiveCampaign, I use its lead scoring feature to gauge how often a contact has interacted with emails and the website. In order to set up this sort of tracking, it's necessary to install site tracking on your website. This is a piece of code that ActiveCampaign provides you that will allow it to track user activity. Nevertheless, let's check out a lead scoring automation I created. In this automation, I simply added 1 point to a contact every time they open an email or visit a web page. Lead scoring can become extremely complicated, and since I like to keep things simple, I merely add 1 point for each occurrence. Now, a great feature of ActiveCampaign is that I can create automations and share those with you. You can import automations into your own account. That said, I'll be sharing this particular automation with you at the end of the video. I also set up another 2 automations to keep track of the last time a contact visited the site or opened an email. The purpose of these automations is a bit different than lead scoring. This one helps us understand how long it's been since a contact interacted with us or has stopped interacting altogether. Let's take a look here at what that automation looks like and the tags associated with it. As we can see, there are multiple tags that come on and off depending on the last time a contact interacted with us. And here is a little more explanation on the tags themselves. Through the data we collect about a contact's activity, we can trigger additional automations. This is a more advanced aspect of email marketing, so we won't discuss those strategies in this video. However, it's great to start collecting this data as soon as possible. This will allow you to start observing your contacts' interactions, after which point you can start to contemplate how you might treat contacts differently. I'll also share that last automation with you at the end of this video. Later on in this video, I'll be sharing with you what we call a re-engagement sequence. In that sequence, we'll unsubscribe contacts after 365 days of not being engaged. In email marketing, quality is far more important than quantity. Curating your list and removing contacts that don't want to hear from you is very important to your sender reputation. So that brings us to our next subject: sender reputation, deliverability, and configuring your DNS properly. All email software sends from email servers that exist at data centers or in the cloud. Each one of these servers has a unique IP address. The major email providers like Gmail and Outlook have very sophisticated algorithms that monitor and rate the IP addresses of those mail servers. That and a number of other factors contribute to what's called your sender reputation. Like any reputation in life, you want your sender reputation to be good. One of the ways you do that is to continually curate your list and remove contacts who don't want to hear from you. Why is that? Because the higher the percentage of the emails that contacts open, the better that reputation is in the eyes of Gmail and others. Other factors that contribute to a good sender reputation are replies, low bounces, low unsubscribes, and low spam complaints. So for all those reasons, it's vital to put user experience first. The better the user experience, the better your sender reputation. And the better your sender reputation, the better your deliverability. Deliverability is the ability of your emails to reach a contact's inbox rather than their spam or promotions folder. Deliverability is extremely important. You can write the most clever emails and deliver the most brilliant content, but if the email never reaches a recipient's inbox, you'll never achieve your goals. If a recipient never even opens your email, all that time and effort preparing a great campaign is a complete waste. Another aspect of deliverability is sender authentication. Large email providers like Google and Yahoo face enormous challenges in fighting spam, phishing, and other nefarious emailing activities. In order to signal to these email providers you are authentic and who you claim to be, there are 3 common methods for verifying you as a valid email sender: DMARC, DKIM, and SPF. It's not our intention to dive deeply into this subject. However, in order to employ these verification methods, you'll need to adjust some settings within your DNS controls, which usually reside in your web hosting cPanel. I'll provide you with a link at the end of this video so that you can read more about this and how to make the adjustments in your DNS controls. Now let's jump to our next topic. We need to distinguish between the types of emails you can generally send from emailing software. The 2 types of emails are automated sequence emails and one-time broadcast emails. In ActiveCampaign's terminology, an automated sequence is called an automation, while a one-time broadcast is called a campaign. Different emailing software name these terms differently, so you'll have to figure out which is which depending on the software that you use. The distinction is quite simple. An automated sequence generally requires a trigger. A trigger can be any kind of action or event, such as opening an email, filling out a form, or making a purchase. An automated sequence also would contain content that makes no reference to current times, since it could be sent today or 5 years from now. Automated sequences are pre-built with conditions in mind so that your emailing software can do the heavy lifting and send emails based on criteria you define. That's the beauty of emailing automation in general. You can map out a journey of emails for contacts to follow, and if contacts meet certain conditions and triggers, your software automatically sends the desired email. Broadcast emails or campaigns, on the other hand, are ad hoc. A common type of campaign is a newsletter. A newsletter for October 2020 contains news and time-relevant content to that month and year. Therefore, you guessed it, we'd only send that email in October 2020 and we'd never send it again. As you can probably surmise, you can write automated sequence content once and then forget it. There are reasons you should consider tweaking copy over time, but for the most part, you don't need to rewrite this content. Broadcast emails, on the other hand, must be current and you must continually produce more of it if you want to provide fresh content to your audience. Now that we understand the two different types of emails, let's cover the topic of email formatting. The subject line is the first thing any of us sees in any email. If you perform a ton of hard work crafting a great email and have finally arrived into a recipient's inbox, you now must get them to open that email. If not, all your hard work is a waste. Therefore, crafting a catchy subject line is critical. There is no exact science to this, and different people will give different pieces of advice here. I'll cover a handful of techniques that I've seen work, but bear in mind that the only way to see what works best for you is to test. The first piece of advice is to avoid certain keywords like sale, discount, free, and a handful of others. Why? Because these types of words may tell Gmail, Yahoo, or Outlook to send your email to spam or to the promotions tab. The next tip helps to visually draw somebody's attention to your email. Using numbers and certain punctuation may attract eyeballs to your subject line and may encourage people to open your emails. Of course, I encourage you to test this out rather than take my word for it. Other suggestions are not to capitalize the beginning of each word, to ask a question, and even include somebody's first name in the subject line. ActiveCampaign allows you to use personalization variables to incorporate first name or other personalized information into the subject line. The more your subject line seems personalized and not a sales pitch, the more chance it has to deliver and for the recipient to open it. HubSpot wrote a great blog here about free tools to help you test your subject lines. I'll include that link at the end of the video. The next part of the email you need to address is what ActiveCampaign calls pre-header text. This may be called something different in other emailing software. The pre-header text is a snippet of text that appears after the subject line when you view your inbox list of emails. If you leave this blank, the first line of your email will display instead. It's not a killer to leave this blank, but I'd certainly advise you to fill something in here if the first line of your email isn't appealing. And before we dive into the email content itself, it's important which sender address you use. I'd highly advise not to use info@ or support@yourdomain.com. Instead, your email should come from a person. That could be the owner of the business, the head of sales, or whomever. Sending from a real person is far more personal and will allow you to connect with your audience more easily. Furthermore, this is good for deliverability. Again, Gmail, Yahoo, and others are far more likely to classify emails beginning with info@ as spam or promotional. On that note, we can now transition into the email content itself. You'll see that in my email signature, I have an image of myself. This isn't necessary, but it's yet another small way to help me connect with my audience. Please note, there are times that I choose to include no signature, especially if the email is very brief or transactional in nature. This is up to your discretion. A small tip, if you're using ActiveCampaign, I'd advise you to build this signature as a template variable. And if you ever change your title or any other part of the signature, you can simply make that change here one time. If not, you'll be stuck having to edit every email you ever created one by one to fix the signature. Another important topic is graphics in your emails. Amongst email marketers, opinions vary greatly on this subject. Even my own experience has been varied. Graphics can be very valuable to provide a pleasant user experience. However, email services may punish you for this by sending you to promotions or spam. My suggestion is not to overload your emails with graphics, especially in the first few emails you send to a contact. If you warm up a person to opening your first emails, your sender reputation will be better in the eyes of their particular inbox. If you want, over time, you can gradually incorporate more and more graphics. The only true answer here is testing. If you're unsure, I advise that you err on the side of caution by including fewer graphics rather than more. Again, deliverability is priority number one. If the aesthetics of your emails must suffer because of it, I believe it's a valuable trade-off. However, in the end, the best path forward is to test. Now let's talk a little bit about content strategy. Content strategy could merit an entire video on its own and several hours long. Perhaps I'll cover this in another video, but for now I want to stick to just one foundational principle. That principle is the following. Every email should have one goal or one call to action. Because this is extremely important to me, let me repeat that. The goal of each email should be singular in nature. The most common error I see in content is that people try to accomplish too many things in each email. You should avoid offering multiple goals in an email. What does that really mean? If the purpose of a particular email is to push a sale on your e-commerce site, don't simultaneously provide a link to your most popular blog in the same email. People have short attention spans, and it's hard enough to get people to focus on one thing. There's a psychological phenomenon called the paradox of choice. If you give people too many choices, they're more likely to choose nothing. By narrowing down your goals to one per email, you increase the chances that your contact will pursue your desired action. This topic goes hand in hand with another best practice, which is to avoid placing too many links in each email. Aside from giving the recipient too many choices, this can also hurt deliverability. This includes populating a bunch of social media buttons in your signature, unnecessary links to different pages on your site, and more. Each link is an additional option. Each additional option increases the chance your contact will not pursue your desired goal. Ask yourself yet again, if the intention of your email is for your contact to click on a link to a blog, do you really want to divert their attention by offering buttons or links that lead them in other directions? Conversely, if you want people to follow your Facebook page, why not write an email encouraging people to do just that? You can extol the benefits of your Facebook community, that it has many followers, and that it's full of exclusive updates. An email of this nature is much more likely to achieve your goal of acquiring new Facebook followers. Plus, it provides you another relevant topic for you to write about. There are some that would disagree with my assertion above. Perhaps there's good merit for larger organizations who want to use their emails as a means to strengthen their brand, though even then, deliverability can suffer. For small and medium-sized organizations operating on tight budgets, I'd encourage keeping your emails clean without distracting your recipient from your singular goal. You're more likely to produce a strong ROI off your emailing efforts this way. That brings us to our call to action. Most emails have a goal that leads you off the email and onto another site. That goal could be to consume a YouTube video, purchase a product on your website, or any number of other options. The call to action is a link or button that leads you to the goal. If you choose to use a button, make it stand out. Red, orange, and yellow tend to perform well. If you need to stay on brand with another color, try to differentiate it from the other colors in the email. Another tactic you can use to make it stand out is to structure your emails like an inverted pyramid, with a call to action at the bottom of the email. Now there is just one more topic to cover in this video, as we're nearing the end. The last thing I want to discuss is list attrition and re-engagement. It's estimated that over 45% of contacts fall off email lists per year. This is a huge number. People change email addresses, change jobs, or just lose interest in your message. That's okay, it's simply part of the process. You will never maintain 100% of your audience over time. You simply need to continue to build your list through your marketing and lead generation efforts. As your list grows, certain contacts won't stick. However, there's a way to combat and minimize this attrition. You can do this by running a re-engagement sequence. Once a contact reaches a stage that you determine to be inactive, you can try to message and revive the contact. How do you do this? First, craft a subject line that's catchy, taking the tone of "where have you been" or "we missed you." The more clever you can make the subject, the better. The messaging within the email should be similar in nature, asking your contact if they still want to receive messages from you. You should also kindly offer them to unsubscribe if they do not. A great example is this brilliantly crafted re-engagement email by JetBlue. Lastly, I like to create this as a plain text email with no links other than the pre-populated unsubscribe link. It's possible the reason your subject hasn't opened any emails in a long time is because your emails have not been arriving in his or her inbox. By stripping all formatting from the re-engagement email, you maximize the chances that it will inbox. As it turns out, I've also created a re-engagement sequence that I'll share with you at the end of the video, along with the others that I mentioned earlier. Have a look here. That brings us to our conclusion. Here's a recap of the topics we covered in this video. Cold emails versus warm emails and building your list. Segmentation, sender reputation, deliverability, and configuring your DNS. Automation sequence versus campaign broadcast. Email formatting and strategy. Content strategy. And list attrition and re-engagement sequences. The last bit of business is for me to share with you all the pre-made automations I mentioned in this video. All you need to do is navigate to this URL here and you'll get the instructions you need. If you haven't already, I encourage you to try ActiveCampaign free for 14 days through the link below this video. It's a highly sophisticated piece of emailing software at extremely affordable pricing. That concludes this video. I hope you learned some valuable information about email marketing and that you can use some of this knowledge to propel yourself to the next level in email marketing. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and feel free to write a comment below if you have any suggestions or questions. Thanks again, and see you next time.